Hi, I'm Flumpty Bumpty. I'm just kidding. I'm Jonathan, or Jonachrome, whatever you want to call me. And I made One Night at Flumpty's as a Five Nights at Freddy's fan game, and also as an inside joke. I've been overwhelmed by the response that this game has gotten already, just in the first couple of days of its release, and I'm really thankful for how the community seems to have embraced it. So I'm kind of making this video as both a playthrough for people who can't beat the game themselves, and also as just kind of an insight into what this game even is, because it doesn't make any sense. Of course, it still won't make sense after I explain it, but, you know, whatever. The story begins more with Birthday Boy Blam, the little guy with the pizza hat, more so than it does with Flumpty, because my friends and I online made this ongoing group comic with Microsoft Paint drawings, where one of us would make a few panels, someone else would pick the comic up from there, and we would just kind of make this stream of randomness that turned into some semblance of a story. And Birthday Boy Blam was kind of the origin of the story. And then he also met this other character who looked a lot like him but had a monocle and a top hat, and I think a bow tie and suspenders. I'm not really sure exactly, and that was Kevin Jr., even though there was no Kevin Sr., so whatever. I don't know where that idea came from, I don't know who came up with it, but I think in the story they were determined to be the same person but in different time periods. So in this game, Blam turns into Kevin Jr. on camera 2B, and they're just kind of the same person. And then somewhere in the story, I decided to introduce Flumpty Bumpty as just this random character who comes in and buries them both because they happen to be unconscious in pits next to tombstones. And he just goes, "Oh boy, I'm Flumpty Bumpty. Oh wow, there are people in these holes. I know what to do. I've always wanted to try this." And then he just accumulates a shovel out of nowhere and buries a giant pile of dirt on them. And as our comic story became more and more convoluted, I realized that the only way to explain everything that was going on was for Flumpty to be immune to the plot. So he just announces that he is, and then flies away. So I realized that if Flumpty is immune to the plot, and he's a fictional character and can therefore be in any story ever if he wants to be, then he can pretty much just bend the rules of time and space. He doesn't even have to follow the rules. So he's just this all-powerful egg who goes around killing people because he feels like it. And if you read the newspaper that The Beaver was reading, then it says that Flumpty kidnapped a person because he felt like it, and that person is supposed to be the player of the game. And you've been brought to Flumpty's House of Horrors, or whatever this place is supposed to be. I don't even know what it is. And someone asked me, if Flumpty can transcend time and space, then why is it that metal doors stop him? And honestly, they don't. It's just a limitation that he's given himself to make this experience more fun. In my mind, the story of this game is that Flumpty kidnaps you and wants to play a game with you, and if you survive, you become best friends. Flumpty does not have the best social skills. But then, I was addicted to Five Nights at Freddy's, mostly because of Markiplier, and that's why I decided to put his logo on the newspaper that the Beaver is reading. And I wanted to make some kind of Five Nights at Freddy's fan game, but I didn't know what kind of game to make it. And then all of a sudden I just told my friend, "Dude, Five Nights at Flumpty's." And so the idea immediately stuck, and I started working on it, but I decided to change it to One Night instead of 5, because that was one way of making this different from other Five Nights at Freddy's fan games that exist, and also I felt like it would have the appeal that Slender used to, where every time you played the game again, it got constantly worse towards the end, but you wanted to reach the end. And honestly, the Five Nights at Freddy's formula, to me, is already so perfect to begin with, that I felt like it was pretty much impossible to come up with original ideas for this. But I still tried my best to put kind of my own spin on this game, and I decided maybe that it could utilize the cameras more than other fan games might. But I just had to copy the Foxy mechanic from the first Five Nights at Freddy's because I was just too happy with the idea of replacing Foxy with someone who is running out of toilet paper. I asked my friend Josiah Clark on Twitter, "Hey, if you put a living creature on a toilet, what would it be?" And he said a beaver, and then I interpreted that as the abomination that you see in this game. Oh, I should add, almost everything in the main room of the game Like the detailed map of Utah, and the toaster, and the puddle of vomit, and the brain. That was a result of me direct messaging my friend Jake on Twitter, he's MetroidMan347, and also the one who made the death scream sound effect for this game, which I could not do any better. I just asked him to name off random objects, and so he did, and then I drew them all. And I am pleased with the result. And he gifted me the first 2 Five Nights at Freddy's games through Steam, which I'm very thankful for. And he's just all around a cool guy. The weird skeleton guy who comes to the left door at one point is the Redman, also known as the man who drank lava and lived, kinda. His design was one that I came up with a long time ago whenever I was trying to make a horror game, but I had no idea what kind of horror game to make, and then the idea just kind of collapsed. But I still liked the design, so I kept it, and then I used it in this game. I figured his arrival sometime after 3 AM in this game would be kind of an indicator that the game just got real, because he's so completely out of place from everything you've seen up until that point. For the record, Flumpty and Blam become active almost immediately in the night. Blam follows a set path. Flumpty is completely random. He can show up at the left door at any time. But if you close the door, then he leaves faster. And the Redman also follows a set path, but it's a different path from Blam's. The Beaver technically starts becoming active at 1 AM, but he doesn't really do anything until about 2 or 3, and he charges at the door every 2 or 3 hours, I guess. So he's a lot less sporadic than Foxy. And then I already had the Beaver, and I already had the Redman, so I didn't want to name the Clown, so I named it Grunkfus, because that's the first thing that came to my mind. He gets a little bit closer every time you lift the camera up, and if you lift it up too many times, then you die. And you can tell how many times you have left by looking at the number of eyes in the pit on camera 5. And that might be too subtle, but it was a cool idea to me at least. I thought about just having Ronald McDonald crawl out of the poster on the left, but I wanted to utilize the hole in the wall in some way, so I changed it. And Grunkfus is totally a better clown. Before I really started brainstorming ideas for this game, I thought that maybe all the monsters could just be variations of Flumpty, just different Easter eggs. And I didn't end up using that idea because I thought it might be a little bit too repetitive, but I was excited for the idea of Golden Flumpty because I thought I wanted something like Golden Freddy in the game, and I realized that Flumpty is an egg and there are golden eggs, so I put that in the game, and I kind of accidentally based his design off a boss in Persona 4, which I haven't played, but anyone who has played it might know what I'm talking about. This game was a lot of fun for me to make, but it was also quite a challenge for me to make, because it's not like anything else I've made in the past. I've never really made games where death is much of a consequence before, and I've also never made a full game in Game Maker Studio before. I'd always used Flash, and so that's a little bit of a different experience. And I'd also never made a horror game before, so I managed to jump scare myself plenty of times making this. I also learned new sound design techniques, which is something I'd never really thought deeply about in the past. And I also had this self-imposed artistic challenge to not include any green on the characters or in the environment of this game. So there's no green anywhere. Jake told me to draw a cactus, I made it blue. And even though I considered this kind of a side project to other things I was working on, I was really invested in it and ended up finishing it in about 19 days. It was 20 days from the concept to completion and release, except there was one day in which I had to work on an English paper, so that was dumb. There were a few ideas that I had for this game that I didn't end up using, like Jake making a phone call saying that he was Jake from State Farm sometime in the middle of the night, but I felt like that would kind of detract from the mood too much, so I didn't keep that idea. And then the Max a Few Trades said something about rap music playing in the distance upon seeing the beaver, and then I thought about maybe including that, but I didn't. I thought about making it so that if you clicked on the nose of the Ronald McDonald poster, it honks like Freddy's nose in Five Nights at Freddy's, but I didn't do that. And then the thought also crossed my mind of making an unlockable Night 2 that's just the same thing but harder, except I really don't think it's worth it. I think it's fine how it is, so don't expect that. So this was an enlightening and enjoyable project for me to work on, and I can't thank Scott Cawthon enough for making Five Nights at Freddy's and being such an inspiration to me to pursue making original things, but I had to make this unoriginal thing first. So, there you go. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you later.